right, gang, I'm going to talk to you cop watchers and you First Amendment auditors for a minute. This is for anyone that films the police. Anybody. I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes on filming the police and kind of let you know the laws that are in your favor for you to stand there and film the police. This stems from a couple conversations I had with an officer reference filming a DUI driver's license checkpoint. Now, I have a pretty good memory. When it comes to having a conversation with somebody, I have a pretty good memory. In this particular conversation, I played it over in my head back in, 8 or 9 times to ensure that I heard right. And I did hear right, I know. So the initial conversation, I was walking down the street. I didn't record it because I didn't think to. I was on my way to a driver's license checkpoint. And he was standing there and he kind of stopped me and we got to talking and he goes, well, you might have to film across on the other sidewalk because we're having the DUI checkpoint here. And I said, well, no, I was going to stand on this side, but on the other side and film back over into where you guys are at. Well, we don't think you can do that because we've closed off the whole sidewalk past the tire shop. And so I was kind of pissed off and I made some remarks about it. I was like, that's bullshit. Well, this last DUI driver's license checkpoint I did this weekend, he brought it up again that I was making comments in that other video, and I said, well, yeah, he told me you blocked off the whole sidewalk. Guys legally cannot block off the whole sidewalk. He goes, yeah, we can. Yeah, he goes, but I didn't tell you had to film on the other side of the sidewalk. I just told you that you couldn't encroach into our DUI checkpoint. That's not true. I remember the conversation, and that's not true. I remember the conversation. So, but I brought it up, and I said, well, no, you said, though, that the whole sidewalk was blocked off. He goes, yeah, encroachment. For you to come into our DUI checkpoint area, it's encroachment. That's why we have to block it off. We stop cars right there, and if you're there, you're encroaching upon our DUI checkpoint. I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to show you in legalese how that's bullshit, and I'm going to show you guys how you can beat that. When an officer tells you that, you can go, first of all, to encroach. And I'm not talking about when the referees throw their flag and go, encroachment, defense, 10 yards. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about encroach when the police tell you you're encroaching upon our traffic stop, or that's encroachment. They're talking about to advance beyond the usual or proper limits. To advance beyond the proper limits. So they may say the limits of the DUI checkpoint are here and here, you cannot advance into that. I'm going to show you guys how you are not encroaching. You're not encroaching when you walk into that area. When you're filming a traffic stop and the cop has just pulled somebody over, I'm going to show you how you're not encroaching by walking up to film that police officer. I'm going to show you how they're using the term encroachment to keep us out of the area of filming them for accountability. Now, also note that sometimes we'll show up with our little camera and they want us to stand way back over there. You have to be over there. You're out of our way. But then you look up and there's a guy with lanyard and press badges all over his chest running around with a camera, running in and out of the cars and between the police officers. And like, oh, what's he doing? Well, of course, he's reporting in a newspaper or other news media source how great the police are. Look at this. They're doing a DUI checkpoint and pulling drunk drivers off the road. They're working for you guys. We're holding them accountable. That's the difference. So there you go. See, they think, well, if you don't have a credential or a press pass, you're not media. That's not true. That's why they call it social media, because anybody that films something, does a blog, a video blog or written blog on a website, or records something and then reports on it, you're now a journalist. You're the media. You're social media. Okay, so that term encroachment that he used is to advance beyond the proper limits. I'm going to show you how I did not advance. I've never advanced upon proper limits. Except one time, and that was because the deputy did not tape off the crime scene. He actually looked at me when I was filming. It was a fatality on Oak Glen Road. And he looked at me while I was filming, and I thought, he's looked at me and walked off, and I thought, oh, it must be okay. I'll just go up here and get some shots. And he got pissed off, and I freaking went off on him. I probably did encroach at that point, but he didn't have it taped off. And he looked at me, so maybe I didn't. That's up in the air. But if it's taped off and you duck under the tape, now that could be encroachment. Here is how we know it's not encroachment. So, I'm just going to go down what I've written here. The first thing that you'll hear a lot of people talk about is penal code. California. Now, these are California laws here. I don't know about other states. But you all do know the First Amendment. I mean, the right to free speech may not be abridged, right? Or the right to free press. We all know the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. So federally, we know we have a First Amendment right to do all this. I'm not going to give you case laws like Fordyce and all those. But I'm going to give you some California laws here. So mainly this is for you California people, but research your own state, because many of the states are similar to California. So this is kind of maybe fit for you. But at least here in California, Penal Code 148G, Bowlegs G as we call them. In a police academy they used to say Bowlegs. So PC 148 Bowlegs G says the fact that a person takes a photograph or makes an audio or video recording of a public officer or peace officer while the officer is in a public place, or the person taking the photograph or making the recording is in a place he or she has the right to be, I'm going to get back into that in a second, does not constitute in and of itself a violation of subdivision Bowlegs A, nor does it constitute reasonable suspicion to detain the person or probable cause to arrest the person. Now, they may tell you in a DUI driver's license checkpoint, if you guys want to go out and film those, that you don't have a right to be here. I'm going to show you how you do have a right to be there. So, before we even get to that, what is Penal Code 148 Subdivision Bowlegs A? It talks about willfully resisting, delaying, or obstructing any public officer, peace officer, or EMT. It talks about, that you may not delay them, you may not resist them, obstruct them. Well, I'm going to get back to that too. Okay, so just put that on the shelf. We're going to come back to it. How you can film the police on a public sidewalk or in a public area without resisting, delaying, or obstructing. I'm going to show you how. I'm going to tell you how you can do that without obstructing them. And they're going to try to pull this shit of, well, you have to get back 50 feet. 50 feet! I'm going to tell you that's bullshit. I'll tell you guys how. Sorry for the language, but this really irks me, this stuff, when they start making stuff up. The California Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Bowlegs A. Now, everybody look up your state constitution, because I'm sure every state constitution has something about free press. In California, it's Article 1, Section 2, Bowlegs A, that says every person may freely speak, write, and publish his or her sentiments on all subjects, that's including law enforcement, being reasonable for the abuse of this, or reasonable, being responsible for the abuse of this right. So if you libel them or slander them or give false information, you're responsible for that. That's why I always try to read stuff and research. I always try to make sure when I speak something, I know what I'm talking about. I don't just throw stuff out there. I'm not always right, but I'm trying to make sure I am right when I do say stuff. But it goes on to say in this article, Section 2A, a law may not restrain or abridge liberty of speech or press. So in layman's terms, no law can be made that prohibits free speech and free press. Okay? They can't make a law that say, well, you can't do journalism here. You can't have free press here. We're having a DUI driver's license checkpoint. I have a traffic stop here. I'm investigating. Okay? I'm doing whatever. You can't do your free press here. Okay? The law says you're not allowed to do it. I'm going to tell you, that's bullshit. Under the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, Bowlegs A, no law can be made to prohibit your liberty of speech or press. You have the right to free press. You have the right to get out there and document what they're doing. Under PC 148 Bowlegs G, you have the right to film them in public from a public place, and they cannot say that your video recording in and of itself constitutes suspicion to detain or arrest you. You have to be committing some other crime, which we're going to get to. So I went and I looked up rules for filming cops. And while doing that, I also tried to look up laws on California DUI checkpoints. There are no laws that I found that specifically address filming, journalism, recording, what have you, of the DUI driver's license checkpoints. So in other words, you're allowed to do it. There's no law saying the police may block off all the sidewalk so that no journalist can get in there because it's encroachment or whatever. There's no law saying that. 148G says you can go in and photograph them in a public place from a public place. California Constitution Article 1, Section 2A says they cannot make a law that prohibits you from doing that. That's free press. There you go. Those two right there support what you're doing. So I did find some rules for filming cops. And again, these are rules, but the rules are kind of, they fall under Penal Code 148G and the California Constitution. I'm going to talk a little fast because of time, because I want to be able to upload this to YouTube from my phone. California allows video of cops in public and while they're on the job, and it cannot interfere with what they're doing. Okay, so you can't interfere with what they're doing. So that means if I'm standing 15 or 20 feet back, I'm not interfering with what you're doing. I'm standing here quietly while you're doing your thing. If you say, well, you're interfering, you're standing there filming me. Well, that car just drove by. He's about 10 feet from you when he drove by. Did that interfere with you? Did that truck just went by? Did that interfere with you? The motorcycle's coming by right now. Is that interfering with you? No, it's not, because you're a dumbass. I'm standing here quietly while cars are zipping back and forth. Get back to work. That's what you tell them, right? No, I'm going to tell you what you tell them in a second. But you're not interfering with them. If other cars are going up and down the street and you're just standing there quietly like this, you're not interfering. Okay? I'm going to tell you what to say. If told to stop, here's what you say. Calmly respond, officer, I'm not interfering. And you can even say that. There's cars going by, making noise. I'm standing here quietly. I'm not interfering. I'm asserting my First Amendment rights. You're being documented and recorded. That's what you tell them. And if you're live, you can tell them you're being streamed live right now. That's what you tell them. I'm asserting my First Amendment rights. If they ask for ID in California, you are not required to show ID unless the police officer can show reasonable suspicion that you're committing or have committed a crime. If they cannot articulate a crime that you've committed or are in the process of committing, you say, I'm not showing you my ID. No, I'm not. Now, if they get ready to arrest you, either get arrested or say, here's my driver's license. Now, just give it to them if you're not a felon, probationary, parolee. But you should always start off with, no, I'm not giving you my ID. I'm not committing a crime. I have not committed a crime. I'm not on probation. I'm not on parole. So no. If they tell you that what you are doing is against the law, you inform them it is not against the law. California Constitution Article 1, Section 2, Bowlegs A, and Penal Code 148, Bowlegs G. And then tell them what it says. Say, see, there you go. The law is on my side to film you. There is no set distance to move away. California law only says to give them room to work. It's all you have to do is give them room to work. And it says that in Penal Code 148 when it talks about not, obstructing any police officer, peace officer. So as long as I'm far enough back, I'm not obstructing you. Get back to work. They tell you there's a distance, we have to be 50 feet. No, you don't. I just have to be far where I'm not obstructing or interfering with you. And I'm not. I'm standing back here. You got cars that are passing right by you while you're doing that. I'm standing way over here. Get back to work. That's what you tell them. So I have to wrap this up so that otherwise I go to put it on YouTube and it says the video is too long. The last one is avoid being aggressive. Yeah, because, calmly tell them, I'm asserting my First Amendment right, officer. Now get back to work. Yeah, tell your story walking, cop. News Now Yucaipa. I hope that helped you guys a little bit. Sorry I talked fast, but I had a lot of information and a little bit of time. If you guys have any questions, just put them in the comments below, and I will talk to you all later. And remember, this week, starting tomorrow, Monday, I'm going to have some stories for you guys.